John Crow, Merrill District.
Tom Cole, Barrel District.
Edwin Nyberg from the Choya District.
Martin Nowakowski, Yucca District.
John Gears, Ocotillo District.
And I'm Vern Crow, representing Cactus, and we do have one vacant chair, and that is for the Saguaro District. The Planning Commission received staff assistance and guidance from the Planning Division and the City Attorney's Office. Tabitha Perry, would you please introduce the city staff who are presenting this evening?
Thank you, Chairperson Crow. Good evening, commissioners. To my left is Jim Gruber, Deputy City Attorney. Across the dais is Lisa Wilson, the Recording Secretary this evening. There is 7 items on the agenda this evening, which will be presented by all senior planners, consisting of George Gaylord, Christina Lavelle, and Edward Vigil, and I am Tabitha Perry, Planning Manager.
Thank you, Tabitha. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak on an item that's not on tonight's agenda? Okay, now on to the approval of the minutes. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes of June 23rd, 2022, Planning Commission regular meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of June 23rd, 22, Planning Commission's regular meeting as written. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Ms. Perry, are there any withdrawals or continuances this evening?
Chairperson Crow, Commissioners, yes, there is one continuance. It would be for item identified as H, or number 7, which is the ZTA 22-01 for the text amendment on the medical marijuana. Staff would bring that text amendment back to the Commissioners at a future workshop, followed by a public hearing.
Thank you, Ms. Perry. Is there anybody here tonight that wanted to address or speak on that issue? Okay, thank you. The purpose of the public hearing is to provide interested parties an opportunity to present testimony for the Commission's consideration. We will follow the same procedures for each item, and that is, I will call the application number and the name of the applicant. Staff will present their report and answer questions from the Commission. The applicant will be given the opportunity to make presentations and answer questions from the Commission. Other persons who wish to testify will be asked to do so and answer questions from the Commission. The applicant will have an opportunity for closing comments, and staff will be asked for a final comment on the application and procedural guidance as well. I will then close the public hearing and ask for a motion prior to any further discussion by the Commissioners. You will need to state your name and address for the record if you wish to speak on an item. Please be brief and to the point and avoid repetition. I reserve the right to limit the length of your testimony. All exhibits shown to the Commission become part of the permanent record and must be submitted for the file. Large groups should designate a spokesperson. Applause or other disruptions which delay the hearing will not be tolerated. As Ms. Perry has mentioned, we have 7 public hearings this evening. Our first agenda item is case number CUP 22-03. Ms. Lavelle will present the case.
Good afternoon, Chairperson Crow and Commissioners. My name is Christina Lavelle, and I'm a senior planner with the City of Glendale. Tonight, I will be presenting the Imperator Gun Sales Conditional Use Permit, CUP 22-03. This request is to allow the sale of firearms as a home occupation Class 2 in the R16 zoning district. The applicant is asking for the right to transfer firearms at their home, as well as do some minor repairs to guns. The applicant is David Lee and Annette Satterley. This is a vicinity map that shows the property in relation to City Hall. This is it's approximately 2.5 miles from City Hall. Here is the zoning map that shows the property in relation to other like-zoned properties. As you can see, the property is located in a neighborhood that is zoned R16, single-family residential. The aerial map shows that this property is located at the corner of 48th Lane and Montebello Avenue. It is a single-family residence. So some of the project details are that the operations of the business will be by appointment only. It'll operate Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. The operations will occur fully within the residence. No customers will be allowed to exchange firearms outside of the residence. In addition, the applicant is providing a designated parking space for the customers to utilize, and no on-street parking will be allowed. As part of the operations of this business, they will be providing video security cameras during the duration of the business. And in addition, they will be providing a storage space that will be secure and a gun safe when the guns are not being repaired or being transferred in ownership. They will also be required to obtain approval with the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, as well as obtain their conditional use permit, and they will also be required to get a City of Glendale business license. In addition, all activities that if they receive anything in the mail, that will be required to be signed by the homeowner or which is the applicant. So this is just kind of a site view that the applicant has provided. It just shows that they are going to be utilizing their driveway for their business purposes. No on-street parking will be allowed for customers. So the applicant met all of their public noticing requirements. They did have a virtual meeting on May 11th. There were no one attended other than the applicant and staff. However, there was one comment that was received during the comment period prior to the public hearing, and then we did receive 3 comments today. So those are included, they have been included with your packet. There were 2 by email and 1 by phone, and they were in opposition in regards to just the use in general. So the home occupation class 2, it is subject to a conditional use permit within the R16 zoning district. This meets the threshold of needing a conditional use permit because there will be customers that will be on site, and that automatically triggers a conditional use permit for a home occupation. And they met this criteria. The hours of operation are going to be Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., and they are appointment only. This adheres to Section 7.304 of the zoning ordinance for home occupations, which limits the activity of hours between 7 a.m. and 10 p.m. Customer traffic will not exceed more than one vehicle at a time. One parking space is provided for customers during business hours. Security system has been provided with cameras and will be in place, and all transactions will occur within the residence. In addition to that, all firearms will be stored within a secured location within a safe when not being repaired or transferred in ownership. All applicable city departments have reviewed this conditional use application, and they recommend approval of this application. Staff recommends the approval of CUP 22-03, subject to the following stipulations. Operation shall be in conformance with the project narrative, date stamped March 31st, 2022. The applicant shall maintain all state and federal licensing requirements, and a valid City of Glendale business license shall be issued and maintained for the duration of the home-based business. A scheduling log of customers will be maintained and will be provided to the city upon request. A security system shall be part of the business operating practices, and firearms are to be securely stored. Parking will be provided to customers on site. And if the registered business license holder for the Imperator gun sales no longer resides at this location, the conditional use permit approval will become null and void. That concludes my presentation. I will be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Commissioners.
Chair?
Commissioner Crow?
Yeah. Could I direct you to the overhead picture of the satellite picture of the home? I got some questions for you. First question is, we had one of these cases recently within the last 3 or 4 months. Is that correct?
Chairperson Crow, Commissioner, I believe we did.
Yes. And it was unanimously approved, I think. Is that right?
Commissioner, or Chairperson Crow, Commissioner, I believe it was unanimously approved.
Okay. In that case, as I recall, the house, there was no violations of city ordinances at that time. On this picture, can you confirm to me that front yard, is that dirt?
Chairperson Crow, Commissioner, so I have visited the site, and the front yard on I believe the left-hand side of the driveway, it's grass. It's grass and landscaping. It's just difficult to see in that picture.
Okay, great, thank you. And then the trailer that's parked on the street, is that the homeowner's trailer? It would appear to be. There's a trailer that's parked on the street I guess that's the east side of the house.
Yeah. Chairperson Crow, Commissioner, I am not sure whose vehicle that is, that trailer.
Okay.
Again, it's something that would be code enforcement or PD would be, if there's a violation, they would be notified and have to move it.
And then the 2 vehicles that are parked on, I know you're not code, but I know you know it. So the 2 vehicles that are parked on the side of the house in the rocks that are not on the driveway, is that a code violation?
Chairperson Crow, Commissioner, it's my understanding that you are allowed to park within your side or rear yard. So it's not clear whether or not that would be a violation or not.
Yeah, I think there is allowed to be 1 vehicle, but it has to be on approved parking surface, and it looks like these 2 vehicles are on dirt. And so I'm not sure about the RV that's parked behind the gate, but that looks to be like it's within code. But it looks to me, maybe we need some other clarification, but it looks to me like we've got a couple of code violations in this picture.
Chairperson Crow, Commissioners, at the time where this picture was taken, it's quite possible that those vehicles are no longer there. What you're referencing to the parking, it goes with the city code not necessarily the zoning ordinance, so I wouldn't want staff to speak out of term. I think it would probably be beneficial the applicant or the property owner, if he or she is here, can speak a little more clarity to what they own, but
Great.
just to kind of remember that what you see before you today does not truly reflect what's parked at the site currently.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Cole?
Chair. Thank you, Mr. Mill. And again, it's probably not a zoning question, but just for our point of information, are these types of home businesses, whether it's firearms or other types of conditional use permits, provided for a residential dwelling, are they subject to inspection, like fire inspection by the city or by safety, building safety? I don't know the answer to that, and I thought maybe somebody on staff might.
Chairperson Crow, Commissioner Cole. So it depends. It depends on the actual home occupation. In this particular case, if there would be some modifications that would require a building permit or fire to inspect that, it would. In this particular case, it's unlikely that they would need a fire inspection. However, they do have to meet with ATF approval, and the city verifies that.
Thank you for your answer.
Commissioner Nowakowski?
Is approval contingent on ATF approval? That was my one question. And I do appreciate the recommendation having, let me read this, that in regards to the no longer resides at the location, the conditional use permit approval will become null and void. So I appreciate that. That's been a lot of discussion in the past, and that was entered in there. So no discussion on that. Thank you. But the ATF, is it contingent?
Chairperson Crow, Commissioner Nowakowski, yes, it is. It is a stipulation of approval. So if at any time they do not receive ATF approval, or that it lapses or they lose it, the conditional use will become null and void.
And the ATF does periodic unannounced inspections. Commissioners, anything else?
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Nyberg?
Thank you. I believe the applicant has included a specific operational time, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 8 to 8. Could we include that in the recommendation that you're suggesting? I think it's valuable, and I think it would be important if the applicant wanted to adjust those operations, that the city be aware of that.
So you want that to be a stipulation?
I think that stipulation should be included. Would that be a problem?
Chair, Commissioners, no, it would not be a problem. If that pleases the Commissioners, we could add a specific additional stipulation with those operational hours. In the applicant's narrative, it should indicate the hours of operation as well, but just for clarification, it would be beneficial if it so pleases the Commissioners to put the hours of operations as a stipulation.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I think that's helpful. I wouldn't object to altering that in the future. I would just want us to be aware of what those operations are.
Commissioners, anything else?
Is the applicant here?
Yeah, hang on. Just
Chairperson Crow, Commissioner, they are.
thank you, Ms. LaBelle.
Thank you.
Okay, would the applicant or applicant's representative please come forward, state your name for the record, and make your presentation?
My name is David Lee. The owner,
Last name, David?
Lee, L-E-E.
Thank you, sir.
Firstly, there seems to be a little confusion on the part of the Planning Commission. I already have a FFL permit from the ATF and a business license from the City of Glendale. That's been in effect since March of 2021.
An FFL is a federal firearms license.
Yes, that's the ATF approval that was referred to earlier. In addition, I would like to be able to change some of the language in the provisions, namely the provision that required when requested I provide a log. That I feel would be contrary to Arizona ARS 13-3108. It specifies that no portion of the state or any of its subdivisions can collect or maintain a temporary or otherwise log of anyone that's owns, possesses, purchases, sells, or transfers a firearm. So I would request that the language there be changed from provided to made available, just to follow the same language that falls under the ATF designations, where they can come and inspect my paperwork, but they cannot remove it from the site in any fashion.
He's correct. Yeah, I think to follow the federal guidelines, we would have to remove, or at least maybe adjust language on the recommendation number 3.
I apologize, Chair. I didn't hear the question. Was there a question for staff?
On recommendation number 3, scheduling log of customers, there are some laws that prohibit that type of thing. ATF has to have that available, which he will make it available because he has to maintain his license, but it's not public.
Chair, Commissioners, that is correct. On previous cases that has been heard before you for this home occupation type 2 for the sales of of firearms, we have in the past incorporated such stipulation. And the notion of that is the only time that, let's say, code compliance would ask for a copy of that log just to see it is if there was a complaint that came in, if someone felt as though there was a lot of car activity to see if there was in violation. That's why the stipulation was put in there. However, if it pleases the commission, based on the federal regulations, it can be removed.
Point of order. Yeah. Chair, members of the commission, the proposal made by the applicant to modify the language also would be probably an acceptable way to both parties to maintain the language but comply with federal law.
Right.
Thank you. I also had one other question about the proposed language regarding the stipulation of hours. Would that be that I'm required to notify the city, or that I'm required to go through some kind of hearing and process to change the hours?
Well, I think it already stipulates, Tabitha, it's like from 7 to 10:30, so I would imagine if he's anywhere in between those, he's going to be okay. Is that correct?
Chairperson Crow, Commissioners, that is correct.
Okay. I have no problem with that. Thank you.
Commissioners? Commissioner Crow?
Sure. Just some clarifications on some of the questions I was asking before. We've approved this before, and so unanimously. So we don't have on its face, but it's incumbent on us to make sure that when we do a CUP change, that the person that we're doing that for is going to be a good neighbor. I'm not accusing you of not being a good neighbor, but we've got to park a car if you have a customer in your driveway. That's what the stipulation says. And right now, you have 5 motorized vehicles parked in front of your house, a trailer and an RV parked behind. And so I'd like you to speak to that.
Okay, yeah, the trailer is no longer owned by the homeowner. There's only one vehicle parked on that side section, and that's gravel. Otherwise, several of those vehicles no longer are part of the...
Is there grass in the front yard?
Yes.
Okay. You said homeowners, that's not you?
I am not the homeowner, no.
Okay. Tabitha, can we grant the right to this when we're not representing the homeowner? Why isn't the homeowner here?
Chairperson Crow, Commissioners, the applicant is representing the property owners. So I believe that's the individual that's on the application that's representing the property owner. Would that be correct?
Yes, Annette Satterley is the property owner.
Okay.
And
You're speaking on behalf?
yes, I have, it's in my rental agreement that I'm allowed to conduct this business.
I see. So you're a tenant at this home?
Yes.
Okay. And it says that you're going to, if the homeowner changes hands, that this is no longer going to be applicable, or is it the tenant is no longer a resident?
Chairperson Crow, Commissioner, the way the stipulation is written, it states if the registered business license holder
Okay.
is no longer resides.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening. I'm John.
Commissioner Gears?
Oh, so you have an ATF approval or license, whatever that is? You have a business license?
Yes.
Do you have a safe for weapons in the house now?
Yes, I do.
So how is this different from what you have now? How many weapons will you be selling, trading, repairing on a weekend? And do you think during a weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, when all the kids are out of school and when the neighborhoods have their neighborhood parties, it would interfere with the operation of your business?
I don't believe that that would interfere with the operation of my business right now. The only thing that I'm asking for with the permit is permission to have customers at the house, because to follow ATF regulations, I have to do business locally. It has to be done on the premise, on the business premises. So that's why I've requested the permit. As far as storage and repair of firearms, I've been able to do that under the other licenses that I have. Because of the way that the regulations are worded, I can do things like that by mail as long as they're not in person, because in person would require them to be at the house, and that would require occupational permit.
So someone would call you up, make an appointment, say, I have a firearm to repair, or I want to purchase one, then you'd make an appointment, they come to your house and go inside and you take care of business.
Yes.
Okay, how much ammunition do you store on the property?
I currently don't store any ammunition for resale.
Okay, no explosives, no powder.
No.
Right. But my only concern is, now that you're making this public, a lot of people are going to know you have a gun safe with guns in them, and you might be an extra target. What kind of extra security are you putting in the house besides cameras? Are your windows all barred? If you're not there, can you prevent break-ins and someone stealing your safe and stealing all that stuff? Have you taken extra precautions?
Yes, I believe I have. That was the entire reason of providing a gun safe and saying that I have secure storage, that it's not,
They can't bust down your doors and just walk in?
well, anybody could do that
Yeah,
to
anybody
any
could do that.
location. So
I think is now, in these times when people know that there's something there, you might
Yes.
be a larger target than you were in the past when it was kind of quiet.
I understand. It's been like that since I registered my business, so I don't see that over the last year that I've had any security concerns in that regard, more so than I was before.
Okay, thank you. And then I have just a couple more. A couple neighbors have complained they have children. They don't like the idea of firearms. Have you addressed any of your neighbors, talked to any of them?
I've talked to several of my neighbors. They've been very supportive. The neighbor directly east of me, I've spoken to personally, and several others down the block. I know that several of them have children, and they haven't expressed any concerns to me. I personally haven't received any negative communication from any of my neighbors.
Okay, thank you. I think that's it for my questions.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Lee. I have received one speaker card. I have Mandy Bellew. Would you please step forward to the podium and state your name and address for the record, please?
Mandy Bellew, 23831 North 65th Drive, Glendale 85310.
Go ahead.
So, Chairperson Crow and Commissioners, on behalf of the Alhambra Elementary School District and the principal of the school that is within 1,600 feet of this resident, we wanted to express our extreme concern regarding the location of this business. We have less than 4 football fields away, 660 children and their families who converge upon this school every day, and with the nationwide concern regarding school violence, we do not feel that it is prudent to bring more traffic into the community that is related to guns and weapons. So it is our responsibility to take the most prudent course of action when it comes to supporting and protecting our children. We do not feel that this is a prudent course of action and would ask for your support and consideration of those 660 lives that live in our school every day. Thank you.
Commissioners, anything for Ms. Bellew? Commissioner Gears?
Have any of the parents of any of the students mentioned anything to you about this previous?
We did have several parents come speak with us today. I do believe that the advertisement of the public hearings related to this, it just wasn't very common knowledge, because the parents that we spoke to, both ladies were very surprised that this was taking place and exclaimed that this was first they'd heard of this. So I'm not sure that the process was something that the community was widely aware of. And we do appreciate the steps towards and respect the steps towards safety. We just do not feel, and the parents have exclaimed that they do not feel that this kind of traffic in their neighborhood should be encouraged or supported.
Thank you. I just have a question for the director. All this mailing list covered that whole area, right? So everybody in that area should have received a notification?
Chairperson Crow, Commissioners, in compliance with the zoning ordinance with the requirement of the 300 feet notification that was completed, the property was posted and it was advertised within the paper.
Because I'm looking at the list and it looks like a lot of 48th Drive, Montebello, and there's a lot of places. I don't see the particular address next to the house though. I'm not looking at everything. So you did do your due diligence in sending out notifications. Thank you. I have no more questions.
Thank you, Ms. Bellew. Okay, with the
Chair,
sorry,
I apologize.
Commissioner Cole.
Is it acceptable to ask one more question of the applicant?
As a matter of fact, I'm going to bring him back up right now.
Thank you, sir.
Would the applicant like to make any closing remarks?
No, thank you.
Mr. Chair. Mr. Lee, so with your FF&L and business license, correct me if I'm wrong, you predominantly in that capacity, you facilitate the transfer of firearms from a seller that's off-site to someone locally here that is purchasing that firearm. And that transfer of that firearm is required to have an FFL entity take possession of that firearm and perform that transfer to the end purchaser. Is that close?
Yes, that is one aspect of it. That's the transfer.
So with this new business plan of yours, in your CUP application, what kind of change in volume of business do you anticipate as far as the concern for increased traffic, I guess? Is that something you can approximate?
Approximate, no. But the steps to mitigate the traffic are kind of inherent in the fact that I've chosen to do things by appointment and that I only provide one parking space. So I can't have more than one person on site or one vehicle on site at a time. I think that, I mean, I don't know how else to express.
I think what he's trying to find out is, are you going to have 50 people a day there?
That's uncertain. I doubt it. That seems like an extremely high volume for a home business that only.
Well, that's what he's getting at. Is it 5 or 2 or 10, or what do you think?
I can't estimate that. I don't know what my traffic would be. I haven't been allowed to advertise that in that capacity.
And sir, one more point. It's not a walk-up retail situation though, right? Everything is by appointment as you.
Everything's by appointment and everything is done inside the home. There's no storefront. There's no walk-up. You can't just come in and do anything.
Thank you for the clarification.
Thanks, Mr. Lee.
Wait, before you go, I have one question. What kind of weapons are we talking about? Handguns, shotguns, rifles, or all?
Any legal firearm.
Anything but firearms? Okay, thank you.
Ms. Lavelle?
Chairperson Crow?
Anything? Final comments?
No, nothing more. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the public hearing for case number CUP 22-03 is now closed. Do I hear a motion? Commissioners?
Chair, we agreed earlier in the conversation, or I think it was Chairman or Commissioner Nyberg asked to add a stipulation. Is that correct? And so have we agreed that he's going to add that stipulation? Do we need to vote on that? Is that?
Yeah, that stipulation will be part of the motion.
Okay. Okay, Chair. I motion to approve case CUP 22-03 with the stipulations as provided by the staff in addition to the additional stipulation provided by Commissioner Nyberg.
And the wording of that would be on, it's number 3. Is that where you're going, Commissioner Crow?
Correct.
Stipulation number 3?
Correct.
Day and time. Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
That's already in there. Okay. And you want the stipulations of Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 8 to 8?
Correct.
I'll support that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Gruber?
Point of order. Chair and members of the commission, obviously the commission's free to propose any and all stipulations it wishes. Just wanted to call your attention, though, to the proposed modification from the applicant to the third condition regarding providing the log to city actors upon request. The applicant proposed a language change
Yeah, the scheduling log of customers, the discussion was it'll be maintained and be provided to comply with federal law, which he has to produce it for ATF if they walk in the door, which they do. And that's it.
So Chair, I would amend my motion to include language that perhaps, Councilor, can you provide? Can you paraphrase? Or
Chair, members of the commission, the applicant provided a word, and I didn't write it down, but if he can, if he can remind us what it was, it seemed agreeable. It was certainly agreeable from my standpoint.
Mr. Lee?
apologize, Mr. Lee.
Yes, I recommended that the word provided be changed to made available.
So I would amend my statement to include that.
Okay, but made available to comply with federal law or made available to the city upon request?
Made available to the city.
Okay, a scheduled log of customers will be maintained and will be made available to the city upon request.
Yeah.
Okay. And we also want the operation hours 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And if he needs to change that, he has to go through the city. Correct? And you do understand that there is an ordinance already that says you can operate between 7 and 10:30.
Yes, I just provided those hours as typical hours that
I get that.
expected to do business. My question with that is if it's included with, what's the process of changing that? Do I just need to notify the city as long as it's within
Right.
the 7 to 10? Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes, Tabitha?
Chairperson Crowe and Commissioners, if you provide a stipulation for specific hours of operation, if the applicant business owner wants to deviate from that, it will require an amendment to the CUP approval, provided you approve it. It may, if I may make a suggestion, maybe it would be beneficial to, based on the staff report indicating in compliance with section 7.304, you have the days of operations being Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and then the hours of operation being between 7 and 10, and that would be in compliance with what the zoning ordinance says.
In that case, I would request that that not be added as I already fall under the ordinances.
Chair and Commissioners, it is at your discretion to add the stipulation for an extra safeguard by putting it in the stipulation. That will be a discretion of the commission upon you making a determination to approve the CUP or not.
Chair, my motion is as stipulated in the report.
In regards to the operating hours?
Correct.
So you want to stick to the 8 a.m. to 8 p.m.,
Correct.
Friday, Saturday, and Sunday?
Yes, Chair.
By appointment only, yeah.
Yes, Chair.
Okay, so that'll be stipulation number 8 and a reword of number 3. I'm not. I got to talk to Jim. Hang on a minute. Mr. Gruber, if we're going to stipulate 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and the ordinance already says he can operate between 7 and 10:30, what are we doing here?
Yes, Chair, members of the commission. Yeah, I would not recommend a condition that conflicts with an existing ordinance.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. It's going to cause a potential problem. I think he just needs to stay in conformance with the current operating hours that are approved for his use, correct?
Chair and members of the commission, if that is your wish, yes, that is correct. Let's keep in mind there's an existing pending motion before the
Right,
commission.
but I'm trying to get straight here. If we're restricting something that he's already got without having to ask for it.
Correct, yes, and that's why I said I would not recommend a condition that conflicts with our ordinance.
Yeah, I agree.
However, we have to keep in mind, we have, there's a pending motion in front of the commission.
Right.
Correct. Chair, a conditional use permit is the conditions that we will allow it to be used. And staff put together a presentation based on what they felt would best protect and represent the neighborhood. And I stand by my motion that that's what we will honor, or that's what my motion is. So we could vote on my motion.
Well, I don't have a problem with the motion. Well, I just want to make sure we're legal. I want to make sure that we're not doing something that's contrary to what council says we are supposed to be doing. I don't have a problem at all with the 8 to 8. I'm fine with that. But I hear Jim saying that probably shouldn't do that.
Mr. Chair, a point of information. The narrative from the applicant mentions Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 8 to 8 as the hours he will typically be in business. Those hours, though, aren't in the stipulations from the staff report.
No, they're not.
Just want to make that clear that Commissioner Crowe mentioned that he wanted to follow the stipulations in the staff report, and I do not read those day or hour restrictions in the staff recommended stipulations. So that would be a commission imposed additional stipulation for restricting the days and times of operation. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Thank you.
Which I don't have a problem for what the applicant has suggested, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 8 to 8. I don't have a problem with that. I just want to make sure that, Mr. Gruber, we are not going to create ourselves a problem here.
Point of order. Chair, Commissioner, can I just give a little clarification here?
Please.
Okay, so as the stipulation indicates, it says that stipulation 1, operation shall be in conformance with the project narrative dated March the 31st, 2022. So if you look at that narrative, in his narrative, it specifically indicates that it would be from, I just lost it, I apologize for that. It states that typical business hours are Friday, Saturday, Sunday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. So with stipulation number 1, to some degree, even though it says typical business hours, stipulation 1 will be part of your approval.
So we don't need to add it.
I don't know if I helped you guys or not, because it says typical hours. Yes, it's part of the narrative, which is part of stipulation number 1 that says operation shall be in conformance with the project narrative dated March the 31st. I think probably just for clarification, because it says typical business hours. So that more or less could make it a little more challenging in a sense of saying, do we want to be specific and say that it has to be from 8 to 8? Because it's part of the stipulation for stipulation number 1.
Which is part of the narrative.
Correct.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Cole?
That's where I find this challenging, because typical business hours aren't locked into the CUP stipulations. Typical means this is when I normally do business, but it doesn't require me to do business during those times. And so I don't understand why we're thinking we're voting on something that's going to lock the applicant into a certain amount of time on certain days when that word typical is in there. I just don't think it has any teeth to it. It's unenforceable. Thank you.
Well, we know, based on the documents that are out there, if he gets this conditional use permit, he can operate technically between 7 and 10:30, period. However, the narrative says that he is proposing for right now that he's going to operate Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 8 to 8, which is great. I don't have a problem with that. But if he decides that he wants to go 8 to 8:30, he's still within what's accepted for the conditional use permit. Correct, Mr. Gruber?
Chair and members of the commission, there's a reference to the word typical. I mean, I don't see it, so can someone direct me to where that is?
Chair, it's the second paragraph in the project narrative. Did you find it?
Chair, members of the commission, yeah, I mean, I've been directed to it by two different people. There's also a portion of the staff report that doesn't use the word typical. So whatever the commission wants to do, I think we need to be very clear about that. I believe the applicant has also recommended that that language with respect to the 8 to 8 is removed. Is that?
That's correct.
Correct
The
about that?
addition of the word typical in the original narrative was expressly for that purpose. I was just asked when I plan to do business, and I stated it in a way that I was not prohibited from doing business outside of what I expect to.
Okay. So just so that we are clear about what the applicant is requesting that he not be bound by the 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. That typical language is meant to provide flexibility for him. Again, I'll repeat what I said before. I would not recommend any condition that conflicts with our ordinance.
Chair, I would amend my statement to include the hours of operation that are approved through the ordinance.
Aha. Okay, restate your motion.
I cannot, Chair. Chair, I motion to approve CUP 22-03 in consideration of the stipulations contained in the staff report and to clarify the additional language that Mr. Lee provided us, as well as allowing operational hours that are consistent with the city ordinance.
And the stipulation number 3 would read, a scheduling log of customers will be maintained and will be made available to the city upon request. That's the wording for number 3. Okay. Now, he has amended his motion, and do we still have a second?
Yes, I will amend my support of that.
So we do have a motion and a second?
Yes.
Are there any comments or discussions? Hopefully not. Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve case number CUP 22-03, subject to the stipulations as outlined by staff and as amended during this meeting. I will now conduct a roll call vote, starting from my far right, Commissioner Crowe.
Aye.
Commissioner Cole.
Explain my answer, sir.
Certainly.
In this day and age, it would be really insensitive of us not to recognize the concern coming from the school district and the principal of the nearby school. this is awful times we live in with violence towards children in schools. At this stage, I do believe that Mr. Lee has followed the rules. I believe that he's been a good business. To the best of our knowledge, he's been a good business operator under his current licensure. With that, I will vote aye.
Vice Chair Nyberg,
Aye.
Commissioner Nowakowski,
Aye.
Commissioner Gears.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Case number CUP 22-03 has been recommended for approval, subject to the stipulations as outlined by staff and as item number 3 as amended by the commission. Mr. Gruber, what are the next steps in the process?
Chair and members of the commission, your action with respect to CUP 22-03 is final, subject to a written appeal received within 15 days.
Thank you, Mr. Gruber. Our next agenda item is case CUP 22-04. Ms. Lavelle.
Chairperson Crow and Commissioners, tonight I will be presenting the Cobblestone Express Car Wash Conditional Use Permit, CUP 22-04. This request is approval of a conditional use permit to permit a car wash in a existing planned area development. The applicant is Jesse Macias with M3 Design, and he is representing the owner, who is Cobblestone Express Car Wash. This is a vicinity map showing the location of Cobblestone in relation to City Hall. This is approximately 5.4 miles away from City Hall. This aerial map depicts the location of the parcel. This parcel is located in an existing planned area development, which was approved in 2021. It is located at the southeast corner of Northern Avenue and 99th Avenues. Here is a zoning map that just depicts the zoning in the area. Across Northern Avenue, we have the city of Peoria. As you can see, this it's fairly triangular in shape. This planned area development is the Thompson Thrift PAD, and this is just a portion of that. Here is a portion of a site plan that was provided by the applicant. This is currently under review for design review, so it has not been finalized and it is conceptual in nature. But as you can see, the car wash takes access off of 99th Avenue by way of a shared driveway. There are access points that come directly into the site, and the operations for the car wash actually move along the peripheral of the property, and the vacuum stalls are located interior in the site. This is the preliminary landscape plan. Again, this is preliminary. It has not been approved, but this is a depiction of what the applicant could propose. Again, we have conceptual elevations. These elevations have been preliminarily reviewed in relation to the overall requirements of the planned area development for consistency with design and form. The applicant has met all their public notification requirements. They had a neighborhood meeting, and at the neighborhood meeting, there was one attendee who just had general comments, and no other comments or concerns were received by staff or the applicant. Okay. Planning staff finds the request meets the findings for section 3.904 in the zoning ordinance. So as part of the analysis, this convenience use of a car wash is consistent with the general plan designation of regional mixed use, which is intended to encourage multimodal mixed-use developments in regionally significant areas. It allows for cohesive large-scale developments that have a variety of integrated complementary uses. In addition, it meets with the zoning district of the planned area development, which allows for convenience uses and car washes with a conditional use permit. The site is adequate in size and shape to accommodate this use. Through analysis, it was found that the car wash and the the vacuum stalls were, they had enough room to accommodate the car wash, the vacuum stalls, and the required landscaping. In fact, there was more than enough room. And as well, the site the car wash only covers about 10% of the lot, and the pad actually allows for a maximum lot coverage of 30%. The use is not detrimental to the health, safety, or the general welfare. The property is located at the southeast corner of 99th Avenue, Northern Avenue, and it's positioned primarily for this type of use. The car wash is where it is proposed. It actually takes direct access off of 99th Avenue and immediately brings all of the traffic interior to the site. With the drive aisles going around and through the periphery of the site, it allows for enough stacking, and it allows for the traffic to be off in the site. It also, the applicant has also provided a noise decibel study, and it was found that the noise from the vacuum stalls and the car wash are not going to be detrimental to adjacent properties or adjacent properties, excuse me. There should be no significant impact to the existing off-site traffic, and on-site traffic is adequately planned. Through the TIA, it was found that there should be no queuing spillovers on 99th Avenue nor on Northern Avenue. And it should not impact the Loop 101. The City of Glendale Transportation Department reviewed the TIA. In addition, the Fire, Sanitation, and Planning assessed the proposal to determine if on-site circulation and safe pedestrian access was provided. So because the on-site circulation moves the traffic around the perimeter, it provides for safe passage for pedestrians within the site that are utilizing the vacuum stalls. Stipulations have been added to ensure mitigation. So planning staff recommends approval of CUP 22-04 per the following stipulation. Development shall be in substantial conformance with the narrative date stamped July 17, 2022, and the site plan date stamped April 19, 2022, subject to design review approval. That concludes my presentation. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Commissioners? Wow, great job. Thank you. Would the applicant or applicant's representative please come forward, state your name for the record, and make your presentation? If you have anything to add.
Good evening, Commissioners. Jesse Macias, M3 Design, 2645 North 7th Avenue, Phoenix, Arizona. First and foremost, I want to thank Christina. She's always so diligent and delighted to work with. So again, I don't have anything to add. Presentation was very thorough, so I could answer any questions that you all may have.
Commissioners?
I just have a general question. How much water do they use? How much is recycled? And how much goes down the drain?
So,
In general, I see a bunch of these pop up.
correct. Through the chair, Commissioner, we actually pipe for all the reclaim, and we actually use the reclaim for the undercarriage. We don't use the reclaim for the actual body of the car wash, but we have all of the reclaim tanks installed, and like I said, we use the reclaim water for the undercarriage and the tires. I don't have the figures exactly what the volumes are for daily use. I can certainly provide that to staff, and they can provide that to you. But again, we do provide the reclaim system.
Commissioner Nowakowski?
Mr. Macias, Ms. Lavelle mentioned it's complementary with the variety of uses. What's going next to this, in the lot next to it?
So as far as I understand, right next to us, which is east of us, is the Black Rock Cafe, which just so you know, one of the things that we've been working, in fact, since the last, or the site plan that is part of the presentation, we've been working with traffic, and we've actually made some adjustments that they wanted us to reduce the width of the entrance into our site, as well as delete the access to the east, which we've done, and it actually works very well because the Black Rock Cafe drive-through is right adjacent to our site. I don't know, there's another drive-through to the east of them. I don't know what that is, and then the gas station is on the other side of the main drive coming in off of Northern.
Yeah, so a
yeah.
QT.
Yeah, the QT, correct. But again, the Black Rock Cafe is the immediate use adjacent to us.
Yeah, I was just doing a compare-contrast of what's at Park West, and when people visit City of Peoria's Sicilian Butcher and BJ's and the Cabin and Fleming Steakhouse, what they're going to have across the street there. And what I'm hearing is Black Rock Cafe, a gas station, and a car wash.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioners? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I don't have any speaker cards. Ms. Lavelle, do you have anything?
Chairperson Crow? No, I do not. Thank you.
Okay, the public hearing for case number CUP 22-04 is now closed. Do I hear a motion?
Chairman, I'd like to make a motion, if I'm on, to approve CPU 22-04, subject to stipulations found in the staff report.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, are there any further comments or discussions regarding CUP 22-04 from the commissioners? Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve case number CUP 22-04, subject to the stipulations as outlined in the staff report. I will conduct a roll call vote from my right. Commissioner Crow?
Aye.
Commissioner Cole?
Aye.
Vice Chair Nyberg?
Aye.
Commissioner Nowakowski?
With a new version of a car wash at 91st and Northern, I really believe that that intersection could be way more imaginative. I know there's a need for car washes, especially with all the high density that's going in the area, but I need to vote no.
Commissioner Gears?
Aye.
I'm sorry? Aye. Aye. Chair votes aye. Okay, case number CUP 22-04 has been recommended for approval, subject to stipulations as outlined by the staff. Mr. Gruber, what are the next steps in the process?
Chair, members of the commission, your action with respect to case number CUP 22-04 is final, subject to a written appeal received within 15 days.
Thank you. Our next agenda will be CUP 22-07. Mr. Gellert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. I can pull it up here. Thank you. CUP 2207 is a request for a conditional use permit to accommodate the Glendale Cyber Car Wash facility. The request is for a site that's located in a C2 zone. The Glendale City zoning ordinance requires approval of conditional use permit to accommodate all convenience uses, notably the car wash in this instance. Project size is 1.16 acres. The applicant is John McGee on behalf of Cole Design representing Olive Marketplace. Site is located south of the southwest corner of 51st Avenue and Olive Avenue, just a couple miles northeast of City Hall. This is the subject property depicted in yellow. It's a portion of a larger commercial zone, Zone C2 to the north, west, and south. Properties across 51st Avenue to the east are part of a multifamily area zoned R4. This is an aerial photo. It's about 2 years old. We've had some more construction in the vicinity. There are commercial services located to the north and south of the subject property. Area to the west is part of a parking lot in association with the larger Walmart plaza. You can also see the residential area just east of the site, about 200 feet east on the other side of 51st Avenue. Some quick shots of the location looking up 51st Avenue. On the top of the screen, you've got the south entry at the south end of the subject property, which is the vacant area behind the trees there to the left. To the right, the residential area. The bottom slide showing the, again, the subject property at the north end. This is the north access area. And again, to the east, to the residential area, and to the south, interior to the plaza. That would be the primary entry and exit of the proposed car wash. This is the site plan depicting the car wash. Again, 51st Street is to the right or the east of the property. There are two entries, one located to the north and one to the south. The entry to the north is part of the plaza entry, as is the one to the south, but the primary egress is coming from the south. The movement of traffic is into the facility and along the east side of the car wash tunnel, up and around and back down south to the point of entry. One of the good things about the site is that the traffic improvements have already been made. All of the streetscaping is already in place. The parts of the use that create the most sound are the blowers located to the south end of the site and the vacuums to the west. Those are located basically away from the residential areas to the east. This is the elevation submitted as part of the project site. proposal. They would also be subject to design review approval as a follow-up to any action by the commission. The applicant held a online neighborhood meeting on June the 15th. We did mailings 2 weeks in advance of the meeting. There were no responses. No one tuned into the occasion. As far as the hearing this evening, we've publicized the hearing in all of the typical fashions, advertisements, site posting, and mailings. We've received no responses whatsoever. With regard to staff's findings, again, the traffic improvements already exist to the site. The property development include access and shared parking agreements with the adjacent commercial properties. Staff had requested a sound study in view of the residential area to the east. It's suggesting rather low sound levels resulting from the project. Staff's therefore recommending approval subject to the following. One, development in conformance with the project narrative dated June 16th of 2022 and included site plan dated June 15th of 2022. Number two, the applicant shall provide a copy of the recorded shared access agreement prior to any certificate of occupancy. And three, the hours of operation shall be from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. Mr. Chairman, that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to respond to your questions.
Commissioners? Thank you, Mr. Gellert.
Sure.
Okay, would the applicant or applicant's representative please come forward, state your name for the record, and make your presentation for anything additional?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Aaron Westbrook with Contour. We're the developer for this project. And I don't have anything to add. He did a good job representing us.
Commissioners, anything for this gentleman?
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Cole?
I just want to make a comment that I appreciate seeing development in the Barrel District. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
I have received no speaker cards. Mr. Gellert, anything final?
Nothing further, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, the public hearing for case number CUP 22-07 is now closed. Do I hear a motion?
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Cole.
I would make a motion to move to approve CUP 22-07 per the findings and subject to the stipulations contained in the staff report.
Support.
Okay, are there any further comments or discussions from the commission on CUP 22-07? Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve case number CUP 22-07, subject to the stipulations as outlined by the staff. I will now conduct a roll call vote, starting from my far right, Commissioner Crow.
Aye.
Commissioner Cole.
Aye.
Vice Chair Nyberg.
Aye.
Commissioner Nowakowski.
Aye.
Commissioner Gears.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Case number CUP 22-07 has been recommended for approval subject to the stipulations as outlined by the staff report. Mr. Gruber, what are the next steps in the process?
Chair, members of the commission, CUP 22-07's approval is final, subject to a written appeal received within 15 days.
Thank you. Okay, our next agenda item is case number ZON 22-09. Mr. Gellert again.
Yes, sir. One moment. That looks like it. Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, ZON 2209 is a request for a zone change to accommodate a planned area development to be known as northwest corner 91st and Camelback. The request specifically would rezone the property from A1 to PAD for planned area development. The project size is 4.96 acres. The applicant is Bayes Gilbert McGroder, representing LDR Northwest Corner 91st and Camelback LLC. Site is located roughly 6 miles west and south of City Hall at the northwest corner of 91st and Camelback, obviously. Depicted in the yellow shape on the screen, designated by the general plan as appropriate for planned commercial development. The area to the north is designated EDU for educational facilities. Across the street to the east, also planned commercial, and to the south, you have the City of Phoenix on the other side of Camelback Road. Once again, the subject property in yellow backs up to an A1 zone. It's currently zoned A1, located across the street from zoning, Planetary development zoning, vacant at this time. This is the aerial photo. You can see the high school facility, the campus located north and west of the site. To the east is currently vacant as part of the southern extension of the Stonehaven community. Across the street to the south, still relatively vacant. There's a commercial use, a Circle K located on the opposite side of the street. This is the site plan, landscape plan actually, submitted by the applicant depicting the parcel. Proposed uses at the moment include a child care facility as well as 3 drive-through facilities along the southern portion of the site. You can see in the graphic the access points for the high school located along the northern boundary and along the western boundary. The site development is also proposing accesses at 91st Avenue and along Camelback Road, as well as a coordinated interior access plan in service to the other uses. At the access point at 91st, there will be a restricted right-in, right-out pork chop style design as part of that entry. The Camelback access point would require a construction of a westbound right turn lane, as well as striping to allow left-in a left-in turn lane on the existing grade along Camelback Road, as well as a right out. You also see from the site plan there's a detached sidewalk proposal and pretty substantial landscaping as part of the site plan. This is a shot of the subject property in the center. You're looking west along Camelback and 91st Avenue to the right of the screen. Whoops, sorry. Further west to the access point at the high school, just west of the subject property. The bottom of the screen, you're looking across the site to the intersection at the right, and to the Circle K across the street. Basically, overall, the planetary development is proposing C2 type uses, as well as a slight adjustment to the building setbacks along the street from 25 to 20 feet. This is an example of some of the architecture that's being proposed. Again, this is a conceptual submittal. It would be subject to design review as a follow-up to the action by the commission. The applicant notified everybody within 300 feet by mail on April the 8th. Again, the hearing this evening was publicized 3 weeks in advance. We've had no response from the public. The CPP Final Report is part of your packet. Staff finds that the site plan establishes a coordinated access for a variety of different uses on the site, supported by existing infrastructure and overall consistent with the city's general plan. We're recommending approval subject to the following: development in substantial conformance with the PAD booklet titled Northwest Corner, 91st Avenue and Camelback Road, and dated July 20th of 2022. 2, construction of a westbound right turn lane with 150 feet of storage at the Camelback Road Driveway B intersection. That's the access point I mentioned earlier. And number 3, stripe an eastbound left turn lane, same access point. 150 feet of storage into the existing center turn lane at the Camelback Road Driveway B intersection. Mr. Chairman, that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to respond to your questions.
Commissioners. Mr. Gullett, you're doing a knockout job here.
Thanks, sir.
I have no speaker cards. Okay, would the applicant or applicant's representative like to make any closing remarks or add anything?
Hello, Jeff Bliley with Buse Gilbert McBroder. Nothing to add, just here to answer any questions if you have any. Thank you.
Commissioners?
Do you have any idea what kind of restaurants might be in there?
I do not at this point in time.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Gellert, anything? Sorry.
No, sir, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay, the public hearing for case number ZON 22-09 is now closed. Do I hear a motion? Commissioner Nowakowski?
A motion to approve ZON 22-09, subject to the stipulations in staff report.
Do I hear a second?
A second.
Okay, are there any further comments or discussions regarding case number ZON 22-09 by the commission? Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve case number ZON 22-09, subject to the stipulations as outlined by the staff. I will now conduct a roll call vote, starting from my far right. Commissioner Crow.
Aye.
Commissioner Cole.
Aye.
Vice Chair Nyberg.
Aye.
Commissioner Nowakowski.
Aye.
Commissioner Gears.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Case number ZON 22-09 has been recommended for approval, subject to the stipulations as outlined by the staff. Mr. Gruber, what are the next steps in the process?
Chair, members of the commission, your action with respect to case number ZON 22-09 is not final. Your recommendation will be forwarded to the City Council for further action.
Thank you, sir. Our next agenda item is case number GPA 22-02 and ZON 22-10. Mr. Vigil.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. I'm presenting the GPA 22-02 and zoning 22-10, the Cornerstone at Camelback PAD amendment. So the first request is a minor general plan amendment from planned commercial to entertainment mixed use. And then the second is to amend the existing Cornerstone at Camelback PAD. The project size is approximately 10 acres. And this is a vicinity map showing the project location in relation to City Hall. It's approximately 5 miles west. And before you is a general plan designation showing the site as planned commercial. Next is a zoning map showing the existing PAD zoning. And then the zonings adjacent to the site is commercial office to the north. The loop 1 is to the east, and then PAD to the south. This is an aerial map showing existing development. As you can see, across the street to the west is an existing multifamily residential development on 2 different parcels. So the first request is the addition of a multifamily land use with retail on the ground floor of buildings 1 and 2. Second request is to create development standards for the multifamily with the retail on the ground floor site only. The third request is to increase the density from 30 dwelling units to 38 dwelling units per acre. And then the fourth request is to create sign criteria for all 3 multifamily buildings with also the retail on the ground floor of buildings 1 and 2. So before you is a conceptual site plan of what the site will look like at build out. So I'd like to bring your attention to the existing driveways. Along 99th Avenue, you have a full access driveway at the very north, and then in the middle, you have a full access driveway, and then over on the driveway located on the south side of is a right in, right out only with a pork chop restricting that. And then on Camelback, you have one driveway, which is a right in, right out only, and that is because there is a median along Camelback where you cannot make left turns out onto the site. So with this request, the Transportation Department will be requiring that the north driveway along 99th Avenue will become a right-in, right-out only, and they will add a pork chop restricting left onto 99th Avenue. Also, as you can see, the yellow or light brown L-shaped buildings, Building 1 will have retail on the first floor, which is depicted by the small brown square attached to the building. That building will also be providing approximately 4,000 square feet of retail use. Then you have Building 2 also showing retail on the first floor, and that would be providing an additional 3,500 square feet of retail. Building 3 to the west of the site will not have any retail on the ground floor, but it does have 3 pretty good size open space areas with amenities. Amenities are going to be including for the site that include barbecue stations, a fitness area, a resort style pool, an outdoor kitchen, a putting green, fire pits, fireplaces, outdoor gaming areas. And then also another amenity would be single car garages. On the site to the north is an existing CenturyLink building facility, and then right adjacent to that is a self-storage facility. And then if you go over to the west middle of the site, you have an existing Comfort Inn Suites hotel. And then to the south of the site, you have an existing electrical facility owned by City of Glendale. And then next to that is a Denny's, and then the National Bank of Arizona is there on the direct hard corner. And just above that to the north is a Culver's fast food restaurant. So what the applicant is proposing is the multifamily, and then there are going to be 2 separate additional pad sites. One would be proposing approximately an additional 4,000 square feet of retail. And then kind of in the middle of the site, that other red square would be proposing approximately 20,000 square feet of medical office. And so with that, I'll go on to the next slide. These are the conceptual building elevations. I did work with the applicant, even though this isn't the design review application, to kind of add a little bit more variety in an architectural detail and some materials, and they did comply with that. But we'll look at these again along with the site plan and landscape plan at the design review application process. So with this PAD amendment, they're requesting to add development standards for just the multifamily portion. The other 2 pad that you saw on there that I went over for the retail and the medical office, those would comply with existing standards from the first original PAD. So some of the things that they're asking is to allow 38 dwelling units per acre. They're providing 23% of open space. And then, for example, landscape setback along 99th Avenue is 30 feet. The parking dimensions they're asking for is 9 by 18, which the typical with the City of Glendale is 10 by 20. And the next slide shows the proposed sign development standards for the multifamily buildings only. So they're asking for a total of 4 signs. Building 1 will have 1 sign with approximately 39 square feet of area. Building 2 will have 2 signs with approximately 63 square feet of sign area. And then the ground floor retail on both buildings 1 and 2 will have approximately 9 square feet of sign area each. So both the city and the applicant have met all the public notice requirements for this application, and as of today, we have not received any comments for the request. And so the findings are that this amendment is consistent with the policies and objectives of the Glendale General Plan, the Western Area Plan, which the parcel is part of, and then the Cornerstone and Camelback PAD. The request is also compatible and consistent with the surrounding area for the mixed use, multifamily, retail, medical office, those type of uses. And the request also furthers the public health and safety and general welfare of the citizens of Glendale, taking into consideration all the circulations already in place. And on the conceptual site plan, I don't know if you noticed, but there was significant pedestrian crossings made out of a variety of different materials, and it's not going to be asphalt with painted striping. So that helps with the safety through pedestrian circulation. And if the amendment is made to the official zoning map, the proposed change will include any conditions necessary to mitigate any adverse impacts on the existing businesses, surrounding businesses, and any residential within the area. This will also be done through the stipulations on this request, and then again through looked at and through the design review application. There's also adequate school facilities for the multifamily. And then last, the Transportation and Land Development Engineering reviewed the application and provided approval for those, as well as all the other departments. So staff recommends approval subject to the following 3 stipulations. The first, that the development shall be in conformance with the applicant's PAD narrative dated July 28, 2022. And that number 2, the north driveway along 99th Avenue shall be a right-in, right-out driveway with a turn restricting median. And number 3, any proposed land uses and development changes not governed by this second PAD amendment shall comply with the previously approved zoning cases, ZON 05-04 and ZON 18-13, including the 19 stipulations approved at City Council on June 14, 2005. And that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Commissioners. Wow, Mr. Vigil, great job.
Thank you. Lucky. No.
Okay, I have no speaker cards. Would the applicant or applicant's representative like to come forward and add anything?
Chairman Crow, members of the commission, Ben Graff with Quarles and Brady, 2 North Central Avenue, Phoenix, Arizona. Here representing Anton Devco. As you saw, Mr. Vigil did just a superb job today. I do have a presentation I could give. I have other exhibits, but I'd be happy to answer any questions for the sake of time. I will use the advantage of the microphone to thank Ms. Perry and Mr. Vigil for all of their time on this case. We've been working through this, and it's been a really good experience with the city.
We appreciate that, sir. Commissioner Nowakowski.
One question. How long have you been working with the city on this project? I mean, I'm looking at the exchange of higher density for amenities, and I was like, wow, this is great. So.
We appreciate that question. And by the way, this is Michael Iancinelli from Anton Devco. We appreciate that question because there was a lot behind the scenes with this application. We've been working with the city for almost 6, I think we're turning on maybe 7 months, just from the first time we talked with the city to bring to you what we have today. This is an example of a case where originally we brought just a multifamily development, and the city asked for mixed use, and we said absolutely. And so it's been a longer process than just simply a pre-app filing an application, but I think this is an example of the right way to do this and how to come to you without any opposition.
Mr. Chair. I concur. This is the right way of doing things, and I really appreciate the time the city and y'all spent in making a project, a good one, even better. And the retail, just everything, the 7,500 more retail, the open space, 23%, medical office, it's good. Thank you.
All right, we appreciate it.
Nice job, guys. Commissioners, anything else? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Vigil, final comments?
No, Mr. Chairman, I do not, and commissioners.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The public hearing for case number GPA 22-02 and ZON 22-10 is now closed. Do I hear a motion?
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Nowakowski.
I recommend approval of GPA 22-02 as written. Do I do the other one, or is it right there?
Go ahead.
And I recommend approval of ZON 22-10
Do I hear a second?
with the stipulations in the staff report. Yes.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Are there any further comments or discussions from the commissioners for GPA 22-02 and ZON 22-10? Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve case number GPA 22-02 and ZON 22-10, subject to the stipulations as outlined by staff. I will take each one individually. I will now conduct a roll call vote for GPA 22-02, starting from my right, Commissioner Crow.
Great job, aye.
Commissioner Cole.
Aye.
Vice Chair Nyberg.
Aye.
Commissioner Nowakowski.
Aye.
Commissioner Gears.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. I will now conduct a roll call vote for ZON 22-10, starting from my far right, Commissioner Crow.
Aye.
Commissioner Cole.
Aye.
Vice Chair Nyberg.
Aye.
Commissioner Nowakowski.
Aye.
Commissioner Gears.
Aye.
Case number GPA 22-02 and ZON 22-10 has been recommended for approval, subject to the stipulations as outlined by staff. Mr. Gruber, what are the next steps in the process?
Chair, members of the commission, your approvals of GPA 22-02 and ZON 22-10 are not final. Your recommendations will be forwarded to the City Council for further consideration.
Mr. Gellert.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, the next item on your agenda is a ZON 22-11, which is a proposal for an amendment to the Urban 95 planned area development. The request involves a parcel of 34.06 acres in size. The request comes from the applicant, John and Adam Froke, on behalf of Froke Urban Planning, LLC, representing the owner, Ed Bailey. This is the map representing the subject property location. It's located about 8 miles west and south of City Hall, along the west side, excuse me, at the southwest corner of 95th Avenue, Missouri. Depicted in the yellow shape on the screen is the subject property designated by the Glendale General Plan as appropriate for entertainment and mixed use. The parcel actually includes the property alongside the bottom. It's divided by a right-of-way at this moment. The property of the northeast corner is now part of the Cardinals 95 multifamily area. Again, depicted in the yellow shape, subject property zone planned area development, areas to the north, also PAD to the east, A1 and R14, and to the south, commercial shopping center. This is an aerial photo of the subject property, including the site as well as the adjacent properties. Is located just east of the 101. To the north, you have the Acero multifamily community, recently constructed, and to the east is still vacant, as well as there's located a single-family residential area to the east, and to the south, again, another Walmart shopping plaza. This is the planned area development land use map that was approved as part of the initial approval of Urban 95 in 2010. It includes a series of multifamily areas as well as a variety of different commercial and office uses, as well as a hotel site. It's somewhat divided by a linear open space area located central to the project, which also bisects a north-south route known as to be known as 96th Avenue. For your information, within the last 2 years, this planned area development has been amended administratively to accommodate an enlargement of what is now the Cardinals 95 project located within the northeast quadrant of the site. The applicant at this point in time is requesting to substantially increase the volume of multifamily units across the remainder of the site, as well as to accommodate the former mixture of uses approved initially. What you see on the slide there also to the west is a linear strip of property, 3 acres in size, that has been also added to the site at this point in time. It's formerly a right-of-way sliver that the applicant acquired recently. Initially, this was about a 48-acre parcel. We cut out the Cardinals 95 and add the 3-acre strip. We've got 34 acres at this point in time. Overall, they're requesting a total of 1,500 units, counting the Cardinals 95. That's about 200 units. The other 1,300 would fall within the remainder of the project site. The current site plan proposal, conceptual in nature, also includes a 3-acre open space area located central to the site, as well as about 25% open space depicted in the green areas. The other rectangles represent the building sites as well as the parking areas that would accommodate these projects. Overall, the density standards would be, there's a request as part of the amendment to increase the overall building size to 15 stories or 180 feet, while also reserving a corridor along 95th Avenue of 2-story development, buffering the residential area to the east. There would be turn lane improvements required as part of the access points along 95th. Westbound turn lane at Orange, also Coulter, depicted at the bottom of the property. Northbound left turn lanes at 95th and Georgia. Georgia is the intersection detailed with the red hash mark there along the west side of 95th. It's about halfway up the east property boundary. There would also be a couple of left turn lanes required interior to the site as part of the internal corridor design.
That's probably.
Overall, we're adding 3 acres to the project site. We're preserving the initial mixture of multifamily and commercial and office uses, while also increasing the overall volume of multifamily from 710 units as part of the initial Urban 95 project to 1,500, again, including the Cardinals 95 project. Increasing the height of buildings allowed to 180 feet or 15 stories and 2 stories along 95th. Allowing convenience uses by right, as well as a series of temporary uses associated with national events relating to the Super Bowl and et cetera. We're also accommodating the placement of a digital billboard along Loop 101. Again, this is just the summary of the development standards. What's being changed is the building height predominantly, as well as a slight reduction to the parking requirement. Quick look at the site. This is the southeast corner at the top of the screen, and at the bottom we're looking north along 95th Avenue. You can see the Cardinals 95 project under construction in the horizon, and the Cardinal Stadium to the right of the screen. Looking across the street, southeast, at the top of the screen, an existing multifamily area, and at the bottom of the screen you have a single-family area across the street, as well as the intersection at Georgia. These are the conceptual elevations forwarded by the applicant, which are designed to kind of drive the design process as we receive and review design review submittals. You can see the staggering in the lower right corner there that's being proposed along 95th, rather. Once again, the applicant held an online neighborhood meeting June the 8th. Notifications were mailed out 2 weeks in advance. There was one person who attended via Zoom. It was an in-person meeting. No members of the public attended other than that. The person that called in was really mostly curious about the project and had good things to say about it. Not much more than that. The hearing this evening, once again, publicized with site postings, mailings, and advertisement in the Arizona Republic. Staff finds that the overall project proposal meets the general plan guidelines with regard to the EMU designation. We believe the density would help to support services and transit in this area, and the project overall adds to the local housing mix. It also provides a lower impact along Copper Cove by limiting building height to 2 stories along 95th Avenue. The existing infrastructure is available in this location. Staff's recommending approval subject to the following. Number 1, development in substantial conformance with the project narrative titled Urban 95 Luxury Living, stamp received June 24th of 2022. Developer to provide any necessary contributions toward turn lane improvements recommended by the traffic study. And number 3, digital billboard shall be allowed as regulated in section 7.110, digital billboard signs of the zoning ordinance. Mr. Chairman, that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to respond to your questions.
Commissioners. Commissioner Nowakowski.
Okay, what obviously jumps off the page is 15 stories. What is the staff argument to support 15 stories, that intensity of density? So you can help me understand that.
That is something that's being encouraged in this corner of the city, basically in support of the other event-oriented, special event type activities in this area. There's a big need for housing, lodging, and et cetera. I guess we're encouraging that. You know, it's got a good location along the 101. It's nearby the stadium. Seems to fit.
Okay, and Mr. Chair, sorry. I know there was a point of emphasis that you had 2 stories along,
Yes.
but then you have 2 buildings that are 15 stories. So just those play on words, and I just don't see that.
Okay.
So just letting you know.
Commissioner Cole.
Mr. Gaylord, obviously, this is a zoning action we're taking, and I know Mr. Froke's very thoughtful in his advocacy for his client. But yeah, this is a pretty dramatic increase in building height, so just encourage staff to, we haven't seen a lot of this kind of development in our city, and so I know the fire department will be, diligent in consulting with the design process, making sure that we've got all the access we need to make this a safe project, but it is of concern.
Absolutely.
Commissioners? Thank you, Mr. Gellert. Would the applicant or applicant's representative please come forward? State your name for the record. Would you like to add anything?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, John Froke, 11225 North 28th Drive, Phoenix, live in the Choya District in Glendale. I'll try to be brief. My client's here. He'd like to see Joan Jett. She's performing in Glendale about 4 miles from here, so we'll try to be less than an hour on this item. But no, we have nothing to add. We think this is as George did a great job, we are respectful to the building heights, fire codes, building safety. We are talking to a couple of groups out of Minneapolis and the Newport Beach, California area that are interested in additional height. We're not sure that we would come forward with buildings with that height. The 2-story limitation on 95th was something that the council member for this area asked us to do, and we've tried to comply with that. The central area, the open space is 3 acres, and so we would feed off of the open space off the loop road. Like I said, Ed's got a concert to go see down the street at Westgate, but he would like to make a couple of comments whenever I'm done. And nice to see you back, Commissioner Nyberg. You look great.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Commissioners, anything for Mr. Froke?
Mr. Chairman, I just have one question. I don't know how tall 15 stories is compared to the stadium. How tall, is it twice as tall as the stadium?
No.
You have no conceptual elevation, you only go up 5 stories. Is it going to be just a straight-up building?
Through the chair, Commissioner Gears, so just to give you some perspective, as Mr. Gaylord said, there is a push for additional height and density in the Loop 101 corridor. To answer your question, the stadium is probably 12, 15 stories. The adjacent Renaissance Hotel, I believe, is 12 to 15 stories. Building floor plate per height is at least 12 feet. So maybe 100, a 15-story building. The groups that we're talking to that would like the ability to go that high really want to be in that 10 to 15-story height because of the tremendous mountain views in all directions from the site. So that's why we're asking for the height.
Okay, I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Nowakowski?
Thank you. Usually, going up makes room for additional amenities. My main concern is with the quality of life of the future residents of Glendale. And with proper amenities, it may reduce, traffic by having amenities in walking distance. Would your applicant, and I know he's going to speak, be open to a mixed-use development that includes retail on the first floor or some kind of use for that area? That's my question.
Chairman, Commissioner Nowakowski, yes. The idea is that this would be a walkable community. We would go through design review through George and Tabitha's group and work on, we want a very walkable mixed-use development that plays off. We're calling it the District Center. That's the 3-acre site off the Loop Road that we just finished constructing, or will be constructing the Loop Road, coming in off of 95th and then linking up to the Acero Apartments. So we are open to that. The group out of Minneapolis that's actually shown us some renderings of the higher buildings would have an amenity package that I think would be pleasant to the planning staff as well as to the commission.
Chair.
Commissioner Nowakowski?
If staff can provide me some guidance on this. So if approved today, design review process would say height and development standards for multifamily with retail on the ground floor, correct? Or would it have to be inputted as a stipulation tonight?
Chairperson Crow, Commissioners. Based on what the PAD depicts as far as the land uses for this particular application, then as they go through the design review process, staff would look at it based on what is approved. So if it pleases the commissioners as well as the applicant and the property owner to add a stipulation that requires that, then the Planning Commission could make that recommendation. But as you indicated, once it is approved, they will go through the administrative design review process.
Thank you. John, do you have a suggestion on that?
Yeah, we're open to that. I would like to have Ed speak just because he's very passionate. One of you asked the prior applicant, how long have we been at this? Ed's had the property for a long time, and like I said, he's got a concert to go see in Glendale, but I'll bring him up if that's okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Let's take this up just a little bit. Chairperson Crow, Commissioners, it's great to stand here in front of you guys. We've been in this Glendale district now for 20 years. We started with Zen Harrow. We're the funding partner behind Zen Harrow. We're the funding partner behind the little arena that you guys have got here in the city that has now just been renamed. We were the funding partner behind that with Steve Ellman and Jerry Moyes and the Coyotes. We were the funding partner behind the Coyotes. We had all the strip of land that was from us north up to Cardinal Way exit. We sold the land to the city for the Cardinal Way exit 15 years ago. We've been with you guys a long time. We've got over $500 million of investments through the Glendale area over the last 23 years. We've had a great relationship here, and we appreciate it very much. Tabitha's worked with us closely, and George, to get this last parcel, which we've held now for 13 years. In there, we sold the upper northern part from Missouri North to another guy who owns a football team here. Anyway, who then, some circumstances of the time of the year or time of the season, it didn't work out. But with the Crystal Lagoons now filling in there, we just feel, happy to be involved with all this in that stretch. So I don't mean to take up your time, but we really appreciate, what we've done here in the Glendale area, especially in the Westgate Entertainment District. We've been heavily involved with that through the last 20-something years. I'd be happy to take any questions, answer anything, try and answer anything for you. And
Gentlemen.
Chair.
Commissioner Crowe?
Just a comment. It's exciting to see us go vertical out there. We need the density, and it looks like a great project. And Joan Jett doesn't play I Love Rock and Roll till song 8, so you're doing great, man.
Thank you, Commissioner Crowe.
Commissioners? Commissioner Nowakowski.
Just some assurance that, I know you're looking at development projects in other locations that were mentioned. Are you open to publicly stating at least that you will be looking at retail on the first floor, commercial uses? Because, the trade-up vertically is open space, quality of life, amenities. Can you share that?
Yeah, I think if you look at what we have the entitlements for at this time, we have hotel, hospitality, office, retail. All those are in our entitlements today, and we've been talking about, how could we incorporate something in there? We're looking at that district of even doing something in that district that would be oriented towards some retail of some sort in there. We've got a nice easement we're working with the new owners of the Walmart shopping center area. We're working with them to get easements in there, so we'll have direct into retail. We're going to put walking spaces in there. We're looking at how could we make this a really cool spot? Because when you enter it off 95th, right there off Georgia, we want to really make it look great. If you look at Zanjero, what we had done on Zanjero, there's some really nice billboards, on each corner. We really don't like to just go in there and try and stick as much we can in there. We want to make it a cool area. Urban 95, luxury living is really our standard, really what we want to go for. We don't want just buildings. We want luxury living in a cool spot where I live there, and that's what we want people to say, and that's really what we're going to be coming back to Tabitha and George and working with to make this a cool entrance, cool center that you're looking straight through from Georgia all the way out to 101, and what's that city center, or little chamber center that we're putting together, district center, making something really cool in there. So we'll be working closely with these guys to make sure that it's not going to be just buildings. We don't want that. We want a cool place to live.
Thank you. And I'll take the leap of faith, and I believe that it's an opportunity to provide for more for the local businesses and the entertainment in the area. So, okay. I get you. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Commissioners, anything else? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Froke. I have received no speaker cards. Mr. Geldert, anything final?
Nothing further, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. The public hearing for case number ZON 22-11 is now closed. Do I hear a motion?
Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve ZON 22-11, subject to the stipulations in the staff report.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Are there any comments or discussions regarding case number ZON 22-11 from the commissioners? Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve case number ZON 22-11, subject to the stipulations as outlined by the staff. I will now conduct a roll call vote, starting from my far right. Commissioner Crow.
Aye.
Commissioner Cole.
Aye.
Vice Chair Nyberg.
Aye.
Commissioner Nowakowski.
Aye.
Commissioner Gears.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Case number ZON 22-11 has been recommended for approval subject to the stipulations by staff. Mr. Gruber, what are the next steps in the process?
Chair, members of the commission, your approval of ZON 22-11 is not final. Your recommendation will be forwarded to the City Council for further consideration.
Thank you, sir. Our next agenda item is case number ZON 22-13. Ms. LaBelle.
Today I'll be presenting Northern Parkway Commerce Center, ZON 22-13. This is a request to rezone approximately 134 gross acres from RR45 to planned area development. The applicant is Benjamin Tate with Withy Morris, representing the owner, which is Desert Leasing. This is a vicinity map showing the location in relation to City Hall. This is located at the south west corner of Dysart Road and Northern Parkway. It's approximately 9.5 miles from City Hall. Here is an aerial photograph depicting the project site. This site is currently within the jurisdiction of Maricopa County, and it is zoned RU43. The applicant has an application in to annex the property into the city. Upon initial annexation, this property will be immediately rezoned to RR45, and then it will be, this action here will rezone that from RR45 to planned area development. So again, here's a zoning map that just shows the jurisdictions that are surrounding the property. The property, again, is in Maricopa County. To the east and the west, it's Maricopa County, which is agricultural land. It is, as you can see, it's about 2 miles away from Luke Air Force Base. And to the south of this property is zoned Luke Air Force Base. Across Northern Avenue, it is the city of El Mirage. So some of the property details and the pad development standards. The project details are that the applicant is proposing to rezone the property and to allow for M1 and M2 and some C3 uses on the property. The applicant has requested some deviations within their planned area development to these standards. Most notably, they are asking to deviate in the maximum building height, which would, if they were M1, M2, they would have a maximum building height of 30 feet. They are proposing a height of 55 feet for the principal building and up to an 85-foot maximum for appurtenances, which would be something like a silo or a generator or even construction equipment. One of the other deviations from the code that they're asking for is increase in floor area ratio from 0.3 to 0.5. To offset the increase in heights and the increase in floor area ratio, the applicant is actually proposing to increase their minimum front and side setbacks from 15 feet to 20 feet, their landscape setbacks, and their minimum landscape coverage, which would be 5%, and they're proposing to increase that to 15%. They're also asking for some deviations in the parking ratio. Currently, office uses are, it's a 1 space per 300 square feet, and they're asking for the total to be 1 space per 2,000 square feet. Here's a conceptual site plan that just kind of gives you an idea what may occur on site. They are proposing approximately just a little over 2 million square feet of industrial distribution and warehousing. This site, if you can see, there are 4 access points along Dysart Road. So here are some conceptual elevations. Again, these are conceptual in nature. The applicant will be going through design review for this. But preliminarily, they are proposing buildings with very distinct entrances with increased landscaping and some artwork. In addition, with a muted desert color palette of grays, blues, and browns and tans to kind of just complement and to soften the building mass within this area and for adjacent properties. So the applicant has met all noticing requirements. They did hold a neighborhood meeting. There were 3 in attendance with just some comments on some of the proposed development standards, and the applicant responded to those. No other comments or concerns have been received by staff or the applicant. So the purpose of the planned area development is to encourage creative and effective use of land and circulation systems to accommodate changes in land development technologies. So this proposal meets this objective because the subject area is in a prime location for new development opportunities and job opportunities. This area is constrained by noise contours of the Luke Air Force Base. And so with an overall concept that is a large-scale industrial distribution complex, this meets the objective of the Luke Air Force Base. They also provide circulation internal to the site that is they have enough driveways to get the traffic off of Dysart Road and into the site effectively, and they have proposed for driveway A to be a right in, right out, driveway B to be a full access driveway, driveway C, right in and right out, and driveway D would be a full access serving only truck traffic. So that being said, the next objective is that there is to be an encouragement of residential development to provide a mixture of housing types and designs. There are no residential development units proposed with this land use action, nor would it be appropriate to have any residential units within this particular area due to its proximity to Luke Air Force Base. C, is to encourage innovative development or redevelopment concepts for all land use types and to provide a greater variety and intensity of uses. Within the PAD, the uses that are proposed are industrial, but they also allow for e-commerce and some limited commercial uses, so that there is a flexibility that is not only supported by the PAD, but it also has been reviewed and evaluated by the Luke Air Force Base, and they have commented that these are appropriate uses for these different noise contours. In addition, it is supported by the general plan from the Luke compatible land use. These are all of the uses that have been proposed in the PAD have been reviewed and evaluated by Luke, and they have determined that these should not be interfere with the airport or the base operations. D, that provide a process which relates the urban design and scale of the project to the unique characteristics of the site. So there will be, as you saw before, there will be a architectural theme that will unify all buildings, that it'll be one unified site that will be built out. The color palette is appropriate for the area, and with the size and the scale of these buildings, with the applicant has proposed these increased landscape buffers, increased landscaping to kind of serve as kind of a buffer against the scale of this site. It requires the nature and intensity of development to be supported by adequate utilities, transportation, drainage, and common open spaces to serve the development and to minimize impact on existing or future adjacent development. So the large landscape buffers and open space will create this inviting environment for pedestrian and non-pedestrian users alike. Landscaping buffering along Northern Parkway, Dysart Road, and the drainage ditch along the south property line, they double as a stormwater retention and runoff and as a buffer between any adjacent uses or properties. The PAD proposes an increase in this landscaping, and it will just add an additional separation from adjacent uses. And then finally, the pedestrian walkways, which are ADA compliant, will be provided on-site and off-site. And transportation has reviewed the traffic impact assessment and has provided stipulations to address all transportation issues. F, it is consistent with the general plan and the purpose of the PAD district. So again, the proposed uses within the PAD are compatible with the Luke compatible land use general plan designation. In addition, it meets the intent of the planned area development in that it provides for the ability to have a mix of uses that could combine industrial, office, limited commercial, and so forth. And it unifies an entire site through architecture, landscaping, signage, and lighting. So the final finding, the PAD application is consistent with the purpose of the district. Should the Planning Commission motion to recommend approval of ZON 22-13, it should be subject to the following stipulations. Development shall be in substantial conformance with the planned area development project narrative entitled Northern Parkway Commerce Center, date stamped July 26, 2022. An FAA Form 7460-1 shall be submitted, reviewed, and approved by the FAA prior to the issuance of any building permits. Access from Northern Avenue shall be coordinated with Maricopa County Department of Transportation for compliance with McDOT requirements. Written documentation from McDOT shall be required attesting to compliance prior to design review approval. The developer provides 65 feet half-street right-of-way improvements to include curb, gutter, and sidewalks along Dysart Road. Developers shall provide 75 feet right-of-way improvements for a distance of at least 500 feet from arterial intersections to be in accordance with Glendale Engineering Standard Detail G-323. All sidewalks on public roadways shall be placed within the right-of-way. If additional right-of-way is required to accommodate sidewalk within turn lanes, it will need to be dedicated as public right-of-way. Right turn deceleration lanes shall be required in advance of all driveways along Dysart Road. Left turn lanes will be required at all driveways on Dysart Road. And finally, 9, signal foundations and structures shall be in place and ready for operation upon the ultimate build-out of the development, and signal warrants are met. That concludes my presentation. I will be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Commissioners. Great job. You're off the hook.
Thank you.
Okay, would the applicant or applicant's representative please come forward, state your name for the record, make any presentations or additions that you might have?
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the Commission. Benjamin Tate with Withy Morris, 2525 East Arizona Biltmore Circle, on behalf of the applicant, in this case, which is actually Clarion Partners, developer based out of Dallas, Texas. I think Ms. Lavelle covered everything, and unless you have any questions, that I'd be happy to answer.
Gentlemen? You're good? Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
No.
I don't have any speaker cards on this particular item. Ms. Lavelle, any final comments? Sorry, you just got sat down, did you?
Chairperson Crow, no, nothing further. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. The public hearing for case number ZON 22-13 is now closed. Do I hear a motion?
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Nowakowski.
I move to recommend approval of ZON 22-13, subject to the stipulations contained in the staff report.
Do I hear a second?
Support.
Are there any further comments or discussions regarding case number ZON 22-13 from the commissioners? Hearing none, I have a motion and a second to approve case number ZON 22-13, subject to the stipulations as outlined by the staff. I will conduct a roll call vote, starting from my far right. Commissioner Crow?
Aye.
Commissioner Cole?
Aye.
Vice Chair Nyberg?
Aye.
Commissioner Nowakowski?
Aye.
Commissioner Gears?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Case number ZON 22-13 has been recommended for approval, subject to the stipulations as outlined by the staff. Mr. Gruber, what is the next steps in the process?
Chair, members of the Commission, your action with respect to ZON 22-13 is not final. Your recommendation will be forwarded to the City Council.
Thank you, Mr. Gruber. Ms. Perry, is there any other business?
Chairperson Crow, Commissioners, there's none.
Are there any commissioner comments or suggestions, gentlemen? Commissioner Nowakowski.
On the Urban 95, one thing came to my mind after this presentation was the Glendale Airport. If there's any concerns, I'm sure the staff would be on top of that. Thank you.
Are there any planning staff reports, Ms. Perry?
Chairperson Crow, Commissioners, I would just like to take this opportunity to introduce the new Development Service Director, which is Randy Huggins.
Welcome. Congratulations, sir. Nice to have you. Gentlemen, the next regular meeting of the Planning Commission will be held on September 22nd, 2022 at 6 p.m. If there's no further business, I will now entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chair, move to adjourn.
Do I hear a second?
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We stand adjourned.
Where did